So I would say that it would be best if each of you would introduce yourself in 1 minute or so and share with the room about your thoughts for Web3 and what is the most exciting thing for you in Web3?
Hello, it works. I'm Anders Kristiansen. I work at Nethermind as Ethereum core developer, so I'm at the forefront of Ethereum innovation. I'm mainly in blockchain because it's very much aligns with my personal values, and I believe that systems like Ethereum actually makes a huge difference for a lot of people in the world. Yeah.
All right.
I'm Bogdan. I went to philosophy school a long time ago, and I always wanted to make my perfect political philosophy and create, my ideal political theory and push it forward. And one of the best ways to do it in this decade is to learn to code. So I learned to code, and I've been tinkering on decentralization things for about a decade, and that sparks joy.
That's really nice. It seems like you resonate a lot with the topic we are sharing today, your background especially.
Hey everyone, it's a pleasure being here today and speaking about this interesting, topic. My name is Gabriel. I'm working as a lead protocol engineer for a company called Emergentix. In the last years, I've been obsessed to actually bring and bridge Web 2 to Web 3. So I guess this topic is very of interest to me.
Cool. And Raluca Negrea.
Hi, Raluca Negrea. What defines me right now from a professional point of view is that I am a co-founder at Build21, which is a real estate company that uses blockchain as support technology. And also that I am an angel investor in the Brava Angels community. A community that supports and actually educates young entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs. The reason why I'm talking about them is because they're actually continuously trying to create bridges between Web 2 and Web 3 technologies.
Super, thank you. Really nice intro from all of you. So I'm thinking to move forward and let's dive in. Let's tackle some questions, some topic of interest for us and the crowd. And I'll start by asking you, what's the philosophical principle you believe it mostly underpins the Ethereum ethos? Raluca, yeah, go ahead.
So the main reason why I'm here is this idea of having the ultimate control over your identity, your data, and your assets. The fact that there should not be any gatekeeper between giving you permission to own something or to participate or to build, this is what I think it's mainly for me the ethos of Ethereum.
Yes, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, I do agree. It's hard to say something after you said. I think this is all we need today. I would add just the fact that Ethereum's ethos can be seen as an autonomy through decentralization. I feel like we are looking nowadays to own our data, as you said. Everyone is trying to have that ownership over what they do and what they are. We see that trend especially in freelancing, payments, and so on. So I do believe that autonomy should be the first principle at the Ethereum core.
Yes.
I think we're quite blessed. I think there's a lot of things that Ethereum people care about. Decentralization comes to mind, censorship resistant, permissionlessness. One of my favorite is optionality. We don't per se have a North Star, and I think that's good. We can just come and do whatever we want, and the layer is neutral to all, credible neutrality. so on and so forth. And there's also things that are not obvious in the protocol, and things that Ethereum people care about, such as privacy. It's one of the most like of interest topic these days, but like it's not obvious in the protocol. But yeah, we care a lot about a lot of things. We write a lot, we debate a lot, and I think this community is somewhat uniquely positioned to do that in the world. We also travel all over the place, so there's a lot going on in terms of values. And we should be proud of that, and we a lot of times are very critical, unjustly, about like ourselves, but I think we're doing a fairly good job.
Yeah, so like my fellow co-panelist points out, so you can say things like permissionlessness, censorship resistance, these things heard many times. But I think the most important principle for me is freedom, basically. So I see Ethereum as a decentralizing force in that it takes power away from the traditional centralized institutions that we built in human society, and basically give the power back to people. Yeah, and that's I personally believe that's the most important principle for me, at least.
Okay, thank you. So now let's go further and imagine the financial markets in a future, close future, near future, where we feel like these financial markets have been decentralized in terms of ownership. How would you imagine specifically from the user perspective and maybe from the builder perspective or business owner, what do you want to bring to the financial markets in terms of decentralization and ownership?
Yeah, I believe the best approach would be a bottoms-up approach. I don't think that the people should go to the financial market should go to them. I think that there should be like a lot more localized, because there's the best information that is not really captured in the economies at a local level, and there's economic efficiencies and coordination potential that could generate economic value and make general economic participation more equitable, particularly at the local level. So in terms of ownership and economic coordination, I think that's where most of the opportunity is, but it's also harder to capture. And ownership generally, like particularly decentralized, non-intermediate, not paper, bureaucratic heavy ownership is just empowering in itself. So yeah, markets, niche markets for everything, for everyone on the mobile phone. You click, you have a new market.
Yesterday, Bogdan, you were saying that somehow you put it in a very intriguing way. Is money the first use case for the blockchain, or it should have been some other things? So now, when you put it in the financial markets perspective, with decentralization, with decentralized financial markets for the future, can you somehow think of other use cases other than money?
I think, first of all, money is very important in the sense that everyone creating a money for any purpose, I think that's very empowering, and we still try to cope with that power because it's something very powerful. Beyond money, it's economic coordination. Ultimately, it still settles to something that lubricates like the economic activity, which is also money. Yeah, what I want to do, what I try to do, my kind of mission, let's say, is to increase the prevalence of co-interested value. So the more people people own things in common together in a shared economic space, the more responsible, the better stakeholders and custodians they become over time, over those local spaces and even national and international, like concentric circles of responsibility and stewardship, let's say.
Cool. It's a valid point of view. I think if we look correctly at this, you have a lot of impactful way of thinking, and it could lead to more use cases if we take the decentralization in more use cases than money, because there is space for more use cases. And now, basically, you, Gabriel, Raluca, share also your point of view.
Yeah. So, what I hope the culture of decentralization will change in the mindset of us as citizens, it's that we are not consumer, we should be stakeholders. So this is the change that I think it should happen in the financial markets once the culture of decentralization will grow and will be adopted. Because I think communities can do a great job if they co-own health, educational products. Also, because I'm coming from the real estate, they will do a great job if they co-own urban infrastructure. But if we just pay taxes and expect that somebody will gonna do stuff for us, will gonna service us, our motivation to have better education, to have better cities, it will be as low as it is right now. So this is the impact that I think decentralization should have in financial markets.
That's true. So I just want to point and say that nowadays it's everything about resources and assets. So if you think about the resources, you might think about our time. You know, our time is our most important resource we have. And what blockchain brings to the world and brings to the table is the fact that we can own that. It's in our control. So you asked about some other areas where blockchain can come and improve something. We can think about the healthcare system. Just think about, you know, having patients, you know, owning their own data, having access all the time to this kind of data. We can also think about governance, for sure. I mean, we can use DAOs to, you know, have local governance. Then, you know, I think these are two very important areas where blockchain can come and improve things.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I don't disagree with any of those use cases, but I would say, though, that even though money is often seen as something that's a bit dirty and it's kind of ingrained in our culture, money is the most important use case on blockchain. Money is basically an expression of personal freedom. Like that's how our society works. Your money is basically what defines what kind of opportunities you have.
Yeah, but it's the idea you have money to consume or to own.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you put your money in a job to
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So by putting money on blockchain, we are getting money out of the centralized institutions that are, I would say, probably many in this room would agree that is quite takes way more value away from the rest of society than probably should.
Fair enough, fair enough. So, because we are talking now about decentralization, and we wanted to design this panel in a more philosophical way, but somehow it touches the main concern that I see it's in the market, the regulatory concern. And do you feel like the pressures from the European Union to regulate the DeFi and the consultations that are done currently with ESMA, European Commission, do you feel like in 3 years from now, maybe the decentralized space will be put at risk and become regulated?
I would say as a startup that the regulation in European Union make it very expensive to start a business. But I will also say that I am a fan of regulators if they really protect the user. And I think that good regulation can actually support decentralization in the long term. But when I'm thinking about good regulation, I'm thinking about rules that are easy to understand and that the regulators really help people to use it. And from my point of view, we should start primary school. So I'm not making a rule and make it impossible for you to understand it. I'm making a rule and I'm starting when you are young to help you understand what it means to have your own identity, what it means privacy, what it happens when you create data, what's your responsibility and what is your right when you create data, when you own an asset, and so on. And if you start early ages with explaining these concepts and, I don't know, help people to use them, then when they are in an open system, it will be much easier for them to understand what's the impact of what they are creating, what's the impact if they participate, what's happening if they not participate, what they should look after, and so on. So I'm a fan of the regulators if they start young, simple, and clear.
Wow, super.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I just wanted to add and say that everyone is seeing regulations nowadays as a monster, like a boogie who's trying to scare everyone. And the majority of people think that regulation is here to put a stamp on everything, and it's against that degen style that we see nowadays in the crypto space. I feel like in order for blockchain adoption to see mass scale, we need to have regulations hand in hand with the blockchain technology for sure. And of course, everything in the beginning is more scary that can be in the long term for sure. So I think that, just to end, devs should work with authorities in order to create the best practices and to shape that path to having legal law for what we are building on chain.
Bogdan?
It's not my subject of expertise by any means, but I'm somewhat of a fan of what DU did. I think Mika is decently okay. It could have been way worse. And in the context, if you think about like the institution, all the players involved, the negotiations, so on, it's probably an 8 out of 10. So it's a really good outcome. What I would have wanted maybe to be even more strict in terms of defining actual decentralization and trying to force actors to an almost unrealistic standard, because we can get there, right? The EVM is Turing complete. So we can achieve stuff. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
That's a fresh perspective, Mika. It's not as worst as it could be, and but yeah, I believe that in the next 3 years from now, we should expect some guidelines from ESMA to help the projects realize if they are really in a decentralized space or they have elements of centralization, and how to treat those centralized elements. But we will see. Anders?
Yeah, okay, so my perspective, I'm not really a fan of regulators or bureaucrats in general. I think maybe one aspect that's missing when people talk about Mika is EU really likes to harmonize rules across everyone. That can be good because it lowers friction. On the other hand, we lose a lot of competition in the regulatory space, and therefore also we kind of lose the practical test of running different frameworks for different countries and see what works best. So all in all, I don't know. I like decentralization. I don't like being told what to do, but yeah.
It's understandable. You were sharing yesterday that a lot of companies somehow with Mika coming, they wanted to do business in Malta, they wanted to do business in Luxembourg, and they realized that okay, these are countries from the European Union. So it's not like Malta per se or Luxembourg per se. We need to comply with whole European Union framework, and it could be cumbersome.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Just from my personal point of view, I would prefer something that would allow for more experimentation, that would allow for more innovation, that would make it a lot less burdensome for startups and so on to come with new products. But that's just me.
And many others, of course. So maybe this one is a more technical, but also for the community, a question for the tech people and the community people of Ethereum. Do you see something ethical that we need to be careful with and be mindful of for the future of Ethereum? Who wants to take it first?
Something you should be mindful for the future of Ethereum?
An ethical perspective.
Right, so in Ethereum core, we struggle with this a lot. Just like Peter was talking about, it's not so easy. There's different perspectives on like what means decentralization. You just heard Peter say Ethereum should run on toasters. Other people may say maybe, yeah, but a really, really nice toaster. Or other people might say, no, it's fine if it only runs on like really enterprise grade hardware, something like that. And we try to strike like a balance because we do have to also scale Ethereum. And right now we are heading towards. I mean, basically we are conserving the principles that we have had from the beginning, and then compromising in the sense that basically we're going to introduce like specialized nodes for special jobs, but the rest of the chain is still able to verify permissionless. With full censorship resistance and so on. So it can be difficult, and some people are like very hardcore, and I'll say Peter is probably one of them. And we had many like debates on these topics and so on. But it's very good to have people like Peter because he's actually really good at whenever we are talking technical things, discussing the next feature and so on, he really hammers home, what it has to be like this because this is going to break with our basic ethics or philosophy.
Tech or community side, which one you take?
Both.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I'm not a core protocol developer or anything, so I don't have anything to say. Generally, as a developer, you need to make sure that you're not predatory and you don't lock in users. You do like due diligence. You test your code. You are an ethical player, and try to. We can actually start doing fully decentralized applications from the start. The problem is there that the upside and like getting buy-in from capital is like a lot more difficult because they're typically not open to being that kind of ethical. It's a little bit too ethical for them. But I think generally we have a good thing going on, like the Biden quote, right? We have a responsibility to preserve and be good custodians. And as Peter is critical of some decisions and like how Ethereum evolved, I think we have all community members have this responsibility of saying like even the negative stuff, right? Being critical, raising hell, being infinitely demanding, and this is not only about Ethereum, it's about also democracy and even the European Union and so on and so forth.
I think it's time to discuss more from a technical perspective to touch that point too. So as a dev, I can say that even though we are promoting this mentality of having everything decentralized, we are still relying on a lot of centralized layers nowadays. especially in terms of hosting everything, where we still have servers running on AWS on centralized solutions, whereas we should be using more on-prem hardware to store everything and run our software. Then to expand on what we should do in terms of development, we should try to write auditable code for sure. Open source is a keyword and a buzzword here, because if we want to promote decentralization, we should open our software for others to be able to read it and understand it. And understand it, I want to emphasize on understanding it, because nowadays it's hard to write understandable code, because you need to keep it simple, you need to have a good documentation, you need to open the doors for others to build on top of your infrastructure. So I think this is the kind of mentality we need.
Yes.
For me, it will be ethical if you claim that you are building something that is decentralized, to be functional decentralized, not just to claim it. So I think this is the only remark I'm going to do on this.
It's a very good point, and I think it's the main point that also the authorities put it in papers, in legislative documents, to say, guys, if it's not really decentralized, don't claim it to be. Okay, so that was super interesting to find from your side. But how do you think things will happen in, let's say, from real-world implications? Do you anticipate from the shift towards decentralized ownership models to happen something really, really good for the community? Imagine the shifting to a more decentralized community, a more decentralized business way of doing business, and this from a real world implication, let's say. The benefits, or the minuses, perhaps.
The benefits is, I think we're gonna learn to build better in both worlds, and in the end, we're not gonna have two words. It's gonna be just one word that it's also digital, but also tangible. But this happens. It's happening. What I was mentioned before. If we change the way we look at things and we understand both responsibilities and rights that we get when we are in a decentralized system, and also understand what's happening if we do not participate in a community. Because I believe in the power of communities to make things happen, but I believe in those communities that has a clear purpose. And once that they are getting bigger and bigger, they are also able to clarify what are the values that are helping them to reach that purpose. So if this is happening, I think those communities will really build better things for everybody, and it will be helping humanity survive. But if not, then I don't know, we will start having those crypto native elites that will never interact to those who had never heard about crypto. And it will be about who has the power to dominate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'm trying to look, 10 years ahead and see what would happen in a world where, blockchain will dominate and we'll see like decentralization here and there. So I think there will be first thing first, a power shift. Communities own the resources and assets. We'll have, in a theoretical world, we'll have DAOs governing everywhere from, I don't know, from your local city or country, or who knows. But this also adds a lot of complexity and some risks, for sure, because if we try to look in the space right now, there are a lot of, tech-savvy people. We see a lot of wells, and this can at some point introduce some, centralization problems, even though it's decentralized in the end. So I think there are some fixes around that for sure. Like having a DAO which changes their leadership once in a while. Having quadratic, voting power, for example, or even being, careful where the power is distributed within the DAO or the governance. So yeah, it's like a double-edged sword for sure.
Double-edged sword, yeah.
So centralized organizations can be very efficient, but what decentralized organizations can do is capture opportunities that are that the centralized ones cannot get to, cannot see, cannot perceive, and cannot capitalize on them. In terms of local communities and ownership at local levels in specific contexts, I think the risks are smaller, like the stakes are always smaller, the costs are easily to socialize, the opportunities can be, very small, like each region, each community has very specific needs, and centralized systems typically don't do a very good job at seeing those and catering for those. There's a lot of economic opportunities in partnership with local authorities that could, if they have some kind of organic start, and there's also some semblance of capital that emerges organically from the political community, it could legitimize and push things forward in particular directions. So there's a lot of dynamics there that can happen that are very, very interesting, exciting, and I hope they happen in my lifetime.
You're probably right. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I think there's going to be a lot more experimentation, but I think it's going to be a very bumpy road. Figuring out this decentralized DAOs, how to do things in a decentralized manner is actually very, very difficult. And has a lot of disadvantages, contrary to what you might want to maybe you think it shouldn't be like that, but in practical terms, it is very difficult. But yeah, I hope there will be a lot more experimentation, and we will probably see some pretty amazing stuff happening. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be a bumpy road. It's going to be very difficult, and we will probably see some sort of mix, because it's doing everything in a pure decentralized manner is very, very difficult.
Yeah, that's true, because before having good practices and successful ways of doing business, we had an experiment, and experimental ways could lead to the success. Without experiment, we cannot achieve those highs and growth and amazing things that afterwards we get them. But now let's tackle something else, privacy. And with privacy, I'm sharing my own perspective now. I believe that in centralized ecosystems, in an exchange, in an on-ramp, in, let's say, a trading platform, in order to be a user, you have to put all your details. And even when you want to transfer crypto from your own wallet to another wallet of yours, but in a DeFi, in a decentralized ecosystem. And you need to give all that information about yourself. Do you think that privacy being sensitive to people, they maybe opt in the future to use wallets which are decentralized and they are the owners of their private keys and won't need to share any private details with the provider of the service?
Yeah.
Or any other thoughts that come to your mind with respect to privacy?
The thing about people is they don't care about things before they do. So people don't care about privacy until the information is leaked on the internet or something. Somehow it was the information is used against them, and then they found out, oh, whoops, all this stuff I was leaking all those years with all those transactions on. Maybe that wasn't so smart. Maybe I should have done more research, used some other wallet, been more careful, and so on. But generally, people are always opt for convenience, always, and they just do the most convenient thing in the here and now, and they don't think much about privacy and that kind of thing until they do, because at some point it's going to hit them at the back of the head.
Yeah, well, in that case, maybe we should also, as being members of the community, bring awareness to people to care about their privacy.
Yeah, you said that they don't care until it happens. I don't think they really care even after it happens. Basically, every central custodian of customer information, KYC information, got hacked at least once. Even like all US state institutions, basically, all the social security, all the insurance, they probably all got hacked at some point. So there's not a mass movement against that to really like point that out. And so like, do people care? Kind of. My personal hope is that partly technology will solve this, and like the states will be open-minded enough in order to accept like computation that proves certain things instead of giving all the information to the state or to private companies by regulation, because they have been poor at keeping it private. So I hope like something like ZK proves answering specific questions in specific circumstances or proving what's needed. Hopefully that's the future, but I think we're far from that.
Yeah, so user might not care about their data, of course, but institutions do. So in my perspective, if we want to see mass adoption and institutions coming to the space like governments or enterprise-grade corporations, for sure we should deal and address the privacy problem. As everyone might know, nowadays everything on the blockchain is public, even though you have a contract and you write something private in it, everyone can read from that address at that specific slot. So, you know, as a user, let's say I'm getting paid on chain, right? And I'm working on a company, maybe some of us don't want to see their other salaries or how much I earn per month or something like that. I think that's like a big blocker right now for the mass adoption. Everything is public and is normal because blockchains are built with that thing in mind. But in order to address this issue, we should do a lot of things. For example, as you said before, ZK proofs are coming. We see also a big movement on the fully homomorphic encryption algorithms that basically allows people to do computations on encrypted data. I guess this is like the next big thing. So we need to have this provability, let's say proof of verifiability feature of the blockchain, but with privacy in mind.
Yes.
So this is why I was mentioned previously that primary school you should start understanding what is identity and what is privacy. And although I agree with you that people don't care about privacy until something very bad happened, I believe in the power of people to create a way to be big consistent, and also once somebody is hurting an ecosystem and many users, the community to be able to penalize deep enough that's something that has hurt the community in order to create the equilibrium. So I don't think it's necessary in the tools, it's more in the people and the way they understand to live in that community, even if it's a digital one or not. Because we are going back to regulatory. Somebody should do something, somebody should stop. Should be the technology or should be a human dissident to do that? Or it's just us that we know why we are together, that we know why we are doing this transaction between us, and what's happening if somebody attacks somebody else's privacy. It should be clear for us what is happening when this is happening, and people should not doing because it's clear that, and the consequence it's expensive to do that. This is what I think it should be. It should be so expensive to hurt others, attacking their privacy, that you should not even think about it.
Yes, a fair point. Maybe in such perspective, the way you put it, Raluca, we see some good points for Mika in that perspective when it comes to a centralized space with good corporate policies and procedures. Basically, you can avoid this kind of leakages and hurting the users. So let's wrap it up somehow with lessons learned from the time you've been in the blockchain space in terms of decentralization. What was good and impressed you in a positive way? If you see any barriers for Ethereum, for the community getting to that point where decentralization is at the core, just share your mind. What are your thoughts? And something that impressed you in a positive way, and also the minuses that you feel that we should be aware of them and treat them carefully for the future.
Yeah, I can speak from the protocol level, of course, because that's where I work.
Yeah, and even, for example, if you have like a practical case when something bad happened and we learned from that, and with that in mind, we will avoid other situations, would be really nice if you have something.
In regards to decentralization,
yeah.
I'm not sure that I could point out something specifically regarding that.
You know the famous Tornado Cash, right?
Sorry?
Tornado Cash.
Oh, right, yes, yeah. Yes, all right. That's not the protocol, but yes, all right.
And I'm not saying it was something bad, but I believe we learned a lot from that. And we can think of ways of doing things in a more regulated way in order to put the community in a good spot, in a good place, and not to wear that bad light that was happening years ago in the Web3 space.
Sure. My perspective is that Tornado Cash developers did nothing wrong. And it's pretty obscene that the regulator, after the fact, after so many years, just because they had a bad press on a specific story, or North Korea, whatever, they wanted to make an example of developers who, in their mind, were naughty, and basically just decided to make an example of them. I don't know what the lesson from that is. That's typically how it always goes, that those in power and those regulators, they don't like when people innovate and make freedom more available to people, and when people get more freedom, they want to start cracking down and set examples and say, hey, you're not allowed to do that. Yeah.
Raluca, you have some final thoughts, maybe?
Yeah, when you mention limitation and examples, I thought about of a good example, and I thought about a big limitation from my point of view. The limitation, I think, it's access, because we know we talk about open systems, but if it's open, it doesn't mean that it's also accessible. So I thought about so many people that don't have access to what we are building.
Yeah.
And onboarding, on-ramping, educating, it's nice, but it's hard, it's expensive. Last year I have spent hours in Zoom with my users, helping them to understand this. So a limitation is the access from my point of view, and maybe for us to think more about how to make it accessible. And then when you ask about a good example, my first thought was about ENS, Ethereum Name Service, which is simple. It's a good DAO. It solves a real problem, and I think it's self-sustainable. It's a good way.
Gabriel? Bogdan?
Okay, might be where we have
out
to.
Of time?
Yes, sorry guys.
Oh my goodness.
Is it all right if we switch to questions now, or are there any closing thoughts you'd like to finish on?
If you want to share a little bit of what was the question, and then we get the question from the public.
Let's give a question. I don't have anything much coherent to say. We have something to custody. We need to take our responsibilities seriously and be idealistic and demanding, but somehow simultaneously pragmatic. I didn't say anything there basically, but like that's my conclusion.
Okay, fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for the amazing discussion. Can I grab that microphone so we can hand this out? Guys, does anyone in the audience have any questions for our wonderful speakers? If they don't and you want to have some time to think about it, we've actually got one on the board already from Gas Guzzler 87. What do you think about the following hypothetical scenario? An AI agent creates a digital wallet, makes automatic, fast and profitable transactions, and then buys assets in real estate. How could an AI agent have ownership in this scenario? Who wants to take that from the panel?
So I think the last question is not on the right point, because the point with AI agents is that we want them to have autonomy, right? But it's in our hands, it's our responsibility to design them in such a way that's safe and does not involve any assets at risk, right? So I do believe that on-chain AI agents are the next big thing in crypto. Think of them about personal assistants that can have access to your on-chain transactions, on-chain wallet, even your calendar, and can actually work cross-chain, cross-functional, and be like your personal assistant. I'm not sure if this answers the question. So the point was, if someone creates an AI agent that can, can create fast and profit transactions, that's okay. That's the purpose of, blockchain, promoting talent. And if someone can create something that's fast, profitable, and easy to use, why not? We need to learn and ask how he did it.
Raluca, because it's a component of real estate, maybe you want to...
Yeah, actually it was a thought that I also heard in our community. What is happening if an agent will gonna buy what you're winning? So it will gonna be a big cost for the society, because the AI agent will gonna buy the real estate, but will not gonna make nothing with it. So it's just gonna be a cost for everybody for a building or an asset that doesn't produce nothing, and nobody make the maintenance for that asset. So yeah, okay, it can happen, and it will be a cost for us, because this we're not going to produce nothing for us from my point of view. And this is why I think as a community, we will have to react and do something, and somebody should be responsible for that AI agent in a way. If it had been created by a community, I don't know, there should be a cost for that community because it has creative. It's a single person, I don't know. But I do believe that in that case, the community will have the power to do something. I really believe that.
Okay, so community is the answer. Thank you. It's a very cohesive answer. Does anyone else on the panel want to tackle that question? Bogdan, over to you.
Yeah, AI agents are tools. They don't walk into a bar. They're used by someone else typically. Yeah, I'm not concerned. Good for the bot. Like.
Bogdan's not concerned. Over to you, sir. Yeah, so I think there's a difference in what is technically possible and what is legally possible. I'm pretty sure a court would never recognize an AI agent as an actual owner. Of course, it's perfectly technically possible to do. But legally speaking, I don't think so.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from the crowd? Ah, over there.
I don't have a question, I just a follow-up. Or not a follow-up, but an AI agent is run by a human entity, so the human entity would have that ownership. So it's a non-problem, I think.
Most likely a court would see it like that, yeah, probably.
Okay, fantastic. Any other questions, guys? Does anyone want to put their hand up for one final swing at our panel of experts? Over there, okay. Oh, no, his hand was just floating. Very risky to put your hand up like that, by the way. Very, very risky. Okay, guys. Any closing thoughts from our wonderful panel, or would you like to close it off there?
So I was really honored to be here, and I thank you all, amazing crowd and amazing speakers. Let's give a round of applause and see you later in other panels.